This is class 3 of Safe to Say No. And we began in week 1 with safety. Why safety? What safety has to do with this thing of boundaries? Why safety matters. And so this is a workshop on nervous system first boundaries. And in class 2, we looked at this inner compass that we all have that we can tune into at any moment to get a sense of how something sits with us, whether it feels comfortable, whether it's uncomfortable, and just to start getting used to reading the cues of our body. So there might be general things like people say when you tighten up, it might in general sound like that's a no or like a something in the way. But I also want you to take that sort of with a grain of salt. Like it's not like a universal thing that a tightness in your shoulders means no, right? It may be more nuanced than that. It may be you're used to what happens in this sort of situation and you're used to tightening. So there's layers that we can really start unraveling in relation to boundaries. And that's actually kind of exciting because we it's not like a once like you get it once and great, you have it forever. It's something that safety, you will always want to find your safety and you will always want to be checking in with your body and yourself to see how something is sitting with you so that you can find your authentic yes, the one you mean, the one that I want this, and your authentic no, like, no, thank you. I don't want that, right? So this is especially relevant to those of us who may have grown up in a family, a system, a religion where saying no wasn't allowed, where it might have cost us our belonging in the family or in the community. It might have been, back in the day, maybe still in some systems, like go to your room until you can agree with me, like things, things like that that really from when that's how it is from an early age, we can really develop patterns of agreeing just automatically and getting really good at reading the room and adapting even when it's actually not who we are now. So we had in our last week, we had a little tiny practice invitation, and I just want to check in. I'm pulling up the workbook on my phone here. Um, let's see, pulling up tiny practice for the week. So I just wanted to check in if any of you have been noticing and have anything to report from the lab of you and your body of what you notice, like when you're, say, if someone asks you something, if there was a request, um, is there a picture, an image that comes to your mind? Is there like a sensation that happens in your body when someone makes a request of you? And sometimes when we're, say it comes in an email or a text and we have a little, we're not on the spot right then. What happens when I imagine saying yes? What happens when I imagine saying no? And then to notice the feedback we're getting from ourselves, from pictures that arise in our mind's eye, which is also body, pictures that arise in our mind's eye, metaphors. So just let's have a little report if anyone wants to share. This isn't so much time for questions. We can get there. We'll have an opportunity for that. But like just what you noticed, if anything, and it may just be even that you're noticing it right now, thinking back on the week when someone asked you for something and you found yourself either doing an automatic thing or checking in. Yes, Elizabeth. Oh, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. There you go.
I am aware of a low grade jolt, a sort of a jerky sense of whole body constriction that I override. It's, I feel it, and I still have times of automatic say agreement or start finding a way to sort of negotiate something. But there is a body sensation, and one of the things that I'm already taking from this workshop is the pause, pause, and just take note of that body feeling. Slow down the moment.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much for that. Can so as you said, I get a jolt, when I'm in that moment of like automatically going to agree or when you notice. Yeah, and what how powerful a pause can be. I think of it often as sort of like this wedge you can put in something and then you can like increase the the space. You can give your like almost like buying yourself space or time when you pause and kind of going into your own body check. How does this actually feel? Maybe part of this is getting comfortable saying, you know what, I need to take a beat on that. When do you need to know by? Or, I want to come back to this when I feel more. I'm thinking my husband, he knows the term regulated, so we use that, but that might not be a term that people know. I'm going to come back to this when I feel a bit steadier. This is important and I don't want to I want to think about it a little bit. Can I tell you tomorrow? Or can we come back when we're both feeling a bit steadier? If it's like in a conversation where maybe there's dysregulation on both sides, which can happen.
Mhm.
Anyone else notice any of those invitations? Yes, Susan.
For me, it seems like this during this period, it's consistently been more of an internal sort of process rather than an external ask. So it's more like noticing sort of a habitual way of thinking or responding or being drawn into ways of thinking that sort of feel like a pull and noticing that and just sort of taking a pause
Mm,
and not just going there. So I think just the pause has been good for me too.
yeah. Yeah, so even independent of saying anything out loud or getting into it with someone or with a situation, you're noticing what's happening inside of you in like the inner dialogue. Yeah. Yeah. And pausing to notice, maybe, tell me if I'm reading into what you said, but pausing to notice like what the like maybe the automatic track of assumptions and beliefs that come around that what things mean and what someone else is feeling or not feeling, right? Which we so often can go down. That's so great. That's so great. Yeah. So feel free during the class to be putting things in the chat. I think of it as like being able to pass notes, right? So give each other love if something resonates that someone else said and you have your Zoom emojis as well. So, okay. All right. So today we are going to be looking at boundaries as bridges of connection, as bridges to authentic connection. And I understand that a lot of us may have the sense that boundaries, or actually, let me ask, how many of you feel there's like this automatic association of the word boundary or the image of boundary with wall, with like a wall or a separation? Like I definitely still kind of think of it in that way, or a rupture or a break. And and how many people just like a quick kind of audit of yourself have been on the uncomfortable end of receiving boundaries? like where it just didn't feel good, where like there was a cut off or like an ending or a rupture that, you know, maybe in some ways it's still with you or still feels tender. And yeah, I had a situation recently where I needed to make a boundary. And I realized at some point that the discomfort I was feeling was in relation to remembering having a boundary set on me, that I was in such a vulnerable place and I didn't have a lot of support in my life. And I didn't want to do that to anyone else, right? And I needed to almost like tease that part out of it and be with myself and the like that vulnerability that I was remembering, that still smarts a little bit apparently because it came up, and to be with that and almost like tease it apart from the situation in my life that was asking of a boundary. And when I could kind of separate those two from each other, the need for a boundary and the clarity and even care around it just felt much more right. Not easy, not easy, but right. And there is a sense of ease that can come when something feels right. Does that make sense? Even if it's challenging, even when it's a hard conversation or a hard communication to have. Oh, yeah. Like if there's clarity with it. Yeah. Is that making sense? Elizabeth, I'm seeing, yeah? Okay. All right. So today, talking about just boundaries to authentic connection. And as I was like thinking of that metaphor too, I was thinking of like boundary or bridges. Sorry, did I say that right? Boundaries as bridges to authentic connection. Suddenly my like reverse memories made it sound funny. Anyway, when you picture a bridge, it's a connection between two things, right? A connection between this body of land and this body of land. I was, for some reason, thinking of the bridges around New York City. So many. I think it was a recent conversation I had about going from New York to New Jersey, and so many bridges, so many tunnels, and so many. So, yeah, it's a connection. And it's also like it's a narrow passage, right? And in that way, also, it's a boundary, it's a connection, but it's not like everyone can go across that bridge at the same time, right? And it's also right for the situation or for the people involved. So when we think of situations, like if you imagine situations where um, you may be used to just agreeing, just automatically agreeing, and maybe even right now, if you're here, if you're watching this later, you may even think, oh my gosh, like that's actually, that's my MO, is like to agree. I don't want anyone to feel bad. So you're just maybe noticing, wow. So I just want to say that doing this thing where we easily agree, or we try to bend over backwards to please people, or we read the room in a way where we are trying to manage everyone's feelings, is not a character flaw. It is very, very likely a pattern that developed when your survival, in some sense, depended on, and maybe your belonging depended on being agreeable and on reading the mood of the people that were important, right? So as you notice this, just practicing so much friendliness for yourself, practicing the no wonders for, oh, no wonder, that's my automatic response, until it isn't, right? So that's where the body comes in. And that's where if you and I work together in the nervous system program, we look when something from the past, we are reminded of it now. There's a way that it's present right now for us. And there's a way that working through it and bringing friendliness to it can even heal how we are holding something from the past, right? So that we can integrate it, so that we can heal the part of ourselves that still gets tripped up in that way. Yeah. I think of it as kind of a go in my life as going back for myself at different points in my life when I didn't have someone on my side and when a boundary was like an abandonment. And it's not then like a few days ago. I can understand why it's reminding you of that. And this isn't that, right? So let me pull up the workbook and feel free to have it to open it on your phone if you want. Try if you want to try that thing I recently discovered of copying the link in the chat and pasting it into your like texting it to yourself on your phone and then opening it. You can try that. I just to say, if it doesn't work for you, um, just watch the screen that I'm going to open. It doesn't, um, it's entirely fine if you don't have it open for yourself. Okay. Share. Crossing fingers. Yay! I love when it works easily and quickly. All right. So here we are, and I am, close your eyes if you want me to tell you when I get to the page. Okay, here we are. So, healthy boundaries make real and authentic relationship possible because connection that's built on honesty is much stronger than a relationship built on fawning and appeasing. Does that make sense? Can you find that like in your body? Like if there's a relationship where you're just trying to keep the peace and not upset someone, do you realize, or can you recognize how there may be a part of yourself or even most of yourself that you're either pushing aside or abandoning in order to turn toward what you think is wanted, right? So each time you say a true no or a heartfelt yes, even I want this, yeah, you're actually choosing authentic connection over appeasing and peacekeeping at your own expense. So just a boundaries bestie just wants us to remember to check in with our inner compass, which is always with us, right? And then some of the clues that can help you know whether you are fawning, over explaining or over apologizing, rushing to smooth things over, taking responsibility for other people's feelings. That one's so easy. Friends, is it okay if I stop the screen share and I want to see you bigger? Is that okay? Or would you, yeah? Okay. And I will have it here and I'll just be going over, let's see here. Here we go. Good. Yeah, like taking responsibility for others' feelings. That comes up so often in coaching sessions. It comes up often for me, for a lot of people. And I would say more for in our culture, in most of us are in some sort of a patriarchal structure, or at least in a system that was built on patriarchy, that it's it's almost ingrained for a lot of women to feel like they need to take responsibility for how others are feeling. And if we add to that, um, those of us who are in healing professions, you know, it can be a real advantage and a benefit and a wonderful thing to be sensitive to how someone else is feeling in relation to connection and empathy. But there's a way in which that can like trip over into, I got to go in and manage it. I have to make sure that they don't feel this, right? Which is the difference between being attuned and sensitive and not abandoning yourself in relation to um, to noticing what someone else is feeling. And then bending over backward to keep everyone happy, sort of like that example I gave you guys in class 1 of in that on that 8th grade weekend trip where I got kudos and actually this like award in the 8th grade class for being like the most cooperative is the word that comes to me, most helpful, something like that. And and as a newcomer to the school, to the states, to the everything, I'm like, oh, okay, I need to be helpful. That's how I'm going to belong here, right? So bending over backwards to keep everyone happy. And in that example, we can also see like how innocent, that might be when it first starts. Like no one around saying, Heidi, go hang out with, go play, go whatever it is in 8th grade. Um, we got this, we got this. Um, or another clue is saying it's fine when your body knows it isn't. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. I'm fine. Or being nice. Nothing wrong with nice. But when that comes from a sense of I have to be a certain way in order to belong, we can see what a toll that can take on our bodies and on our relationships too. Because what ends up happening is, even if not consciously, this kind of question, why does this person love me? Is it because I'm always nice to them? Or do they actually, like who I am? Do they actually like, if I am myself, would they still like me? Would they still want to be in a relationship with me? Right? So these are clues. These are clues to check in. So let's see here. Yeah, they're clues that your system has left safety and has slipped into survival patterns. So anytime that we can pause, like Elizabeth, like Susan were saying about pausing and noticing what's going on, instead of automatically either performing, anytime we can breathe, instead of jumping in to fix something, or like somehow stay in our own lane of responsibility, you are returning to like your true self and authenticity and integrity. And this is like a practice of self-trust. That's why in the in our nervous system community, we talk so much about cultivating friendliness, cultivating like a sense of safety. Like it's it's not something to beat up on ourselves about if we don't trust ourselves. This is going to be how that trust starts building and gains traction and momentum. So I want to share this just for a moment because I am so proud of this gal here and for thinking of this. Help, I'm fawning and I can't get up. I don't know where that came from, but friends, I got to tell you, I just had to show you because anyway, I'm glad to see you all laughing. So, the check-in is, does your yes feel true, or is it coming from pressure or habit? Right? This is in your workbook. So don't worry about remembering it. Does your yes feel true, or is it coming because you're used to saying yes? How does your body feel when you're trying to keep the peace at all costs? Yeah, I'm seeing the grimaces. Yeah. Oh, like, oh my God, I feel exhausted just even saying those words, right? What helps you find your way back to yourself? What is it that helps you? Yes, yes, I'm seeing my stomach hurts. Yep. When you're trying to keep the peace at all costs. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, like a tightness. I feel a sense of tightness when ooh, I'm thinking, yeah, yeah, of like situations with people I love where there's a lot of maybe division and a lot of tongue biting that happens around religious views or politics. Oh, yeah, can feel tight. And it doesn't mean, you know what? It doesn't mean that we don't go into a situation, but if we go, say it's a family event, we have it's coming closer. I've started seeing commercials for the upcoming holidays. I mean, not the upcoming one, the one after that. So it's coming. It's coming. I think it's in the collective consciousness of us. So if like I notice a tightening when I think about going, so that might not necessarily mean no, I'm not going to go. Like that may not be the boundary. But if I decide I'm going to go to something, how can I not bend over backwards? How can I keep the peace? How can I stay true to myself without like at my own cost, like doing things or saying things that cost me my own integrity? Where in your life, and this is sort of a bit of a bigger kind of bird's eye perspective question, where in your life might a boundary bring change in the way things have been, right? We talked at the beginning of when we were just coming together a few minutes ago, how saying no can change a relationship, and that boundaries sometimes do end in loss or include loss, right? And so to just ask the question, where could a boundary change something in a relationship? That's not to say that, we don't do it or that we jump in and override our sense of timing and pacing with this, but it's good to notice, wow, I always bite my tongue when I'm having a conversation with this person. If I didn't bite my tongue, that might change the way I interact with him, right? Wondering things like that. Is this landing? Are you finding yourself in the examples? Are you being gentle and friendly with yourself as you're hearing these different scenarios? Yeah, so. I'm seeing maybe, maybe.
I'm noticing the place that I feel most judgmental is around boundaries at work, interestingly. So I wasn't aware of that. I mean, in this moment anyway, it could be judgment in other moments. It's harder to find my friendliness about that.
Yes. Yes. And oh, I feel such respect and like it's just a big sense of no wonder in relation to the workplace boundaries. Um, because it makes sense when we think about being dependent, on income, and even when we love our bosses, you know, there is there could be a power differential that's just important to recognize. And even when it's a person that doesn't abuse power, it's a good kind of power in a person we work with. There, especially if we come from high control, there might be, a tendency or like an impulse to fawn and to not be true to ourselves. So that comes up a lot. You are so not alone with that. In fact, I was just having I've opened up, um, I'm wanting to talk to people about how nervous system challenges show up for them And I'm especially wanting to talk to people that are coming from high control past religions or systems. So I'm talking to people that I'm not working with. I've had having this chance to have a conversation with people who don't necessarily have a nervous system understanding like we develop if you're working with me. And that is such a common place for boundary things to come up in the workplace. And and we're supporting ourselves, and we're supporting families, and the fear that happens if we had a misstep. So to be able to go gently with ourselves, that's why I'm calling this like a gentle check-in when you're asking these questions, and to also get help in, if it is hard to be with alone, to get help in kind of sussing out what's going on there. Because sometimes even in a workplace, there could be ways that we're interpreting people's facial reactions in a way that has to do with our past, and we are assuming that that certain look means that they're not happy with us, which, depending on how you grew up, that might have been something that you were constantly thinking. Oh, they're not happy with me, right? I made them mad. So no wonder then that that's like the automatic fear that happens about speaking your truth. So I would say just be gentle with noticing where this is coming up, and that if we do nothing else, then bring some friendliness into noticing what's happening. The next interaction, we may still, it doesn't mean you're going to tell someone off, right? It doesn't mean that you need to go in and, tell everyone exactly what you think in a workplace. But it means that you within yourself have integrity, and that you realize, yeah, like I don't want to sit next to this person at the next like meeting, or I don't have a safe sense. I am careful when I'm talking to this person. Good to notice. You have your own back, right? So good to notice. And sometimes it can bring such a breath of fresh air into a relationship and even in a workplace, to be able to, this is probably for another class actually, um, to be able to come back to a situation where you were interpreting it in a certain way, and from a non-defensive and arguing place, say, when you said this about my work on the project, did you mean that dot dot dot? To hear how that's different than, oh my God, they're so displeased with what I'm doing. And just to help clarify what's happening and give the person an opportunity. They may have had a bad day. Give the person an opportunity to say whatever it is that is going on. So not everyone is skilled in this. So we interact with people in real life that aren't skilled at all about boundaries or authenticity. So the most important relationship that you can have with all of this is within yourself, right? And to be authentic, at least in what you notice for yourself. Yeah. How are we doing? I want to check in. Thank you, Velia, for bringing that up. Such a good example for so many people. Is this making sense? How are we doing? Do we need a stretch break? Oh, yes. Yes. I see you taking me up on it. A yawn, a stretch. Yeah. Yes. So, any questions before I go on? I want to get to this next place. I've been looking forward to this next thing. So, I am gonna put this in, let's see. How can we do this? I'm going to share my screen with you, and here's what you can do. If you want to see, it's going to have 10 ways to say no. That's what I'm going to show you. And if you want to be able to refer to these 10 ways to say no and the next thing that we're doing, let me tell you what we're doing first. Let me not keep you in the dark. We are going to be practicing asking each other for something. And we are going to practice saying no. And we don't have to make this in any way related to our real lives, like the hard thing that the thing that we have a hard time saying no about. But we are just going to practice saying no in a friendly way, in a friendly container of safety. So let me share this quickly with you so that you can, if you don't have your workbook open, you can have it. And let's see. Okay. All right. Do you see the 10 no's? Yeah? Okay. So take a screenshot if you want, use your phone to take a picture of it, or just, wing it. Wing it with the nose. But here are, just because sometimes we can get really tongue-tied. If we're not used to disagreeing or saying no to someone or buying ourselves some time, we can just automatically say the yes, right? So, okay, let me stop the screen share. And what I would love to do is for us to just, all of us are going to unmute ourselves. So just, yeah, unmute yourself. And I'm going to start with an example. Who would like to be the first? I'm gonna be asking the question, and who would like to practice saying no? Who would like to go first? Yes, Susan, yay. Okay. Susan, I noticed, it's not behind you right now, but I have noticed that picture of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I love that picture so much. And I wonder if you would send it to me.
Oh, wow. Thank you for asking, but I'm really attached to it, so I'm going to have to say no.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yay! Yay, Susan! How was that?
It was a little surprising.
But people don't usually ask you for things in your house. Okay, it doesn't have to, you can make stuff up. Yeah. Are you okay, Susan? Did I really put you on the
Fine.
spot? Okay.
Yeah.
Susan, would you like to go next? Ask someone for something or to do so? It can be like make something up about plans. Just use your imagination.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is funny because I went to this workshop and I mean, I went to this retreat, and one of the workshops was on flirting and how women have a hard time saying no. And so we got to practice saying no.
Okay.
So, but I'm not going to do that. You have to practice asking, can I have permission to flirt with you with the intention of getting to know you better?
You can practice that.
Yeah, but I don't really want
Okay.
to.
All right.
Um, I'm sorry, I can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
Can you
Anyone?
come back to me?
Yes, absolutely. Anyone else want to be the asker? Yeah, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Who am I asking?
Whoever you want.
Okay, well, let's see. Delia, you're on. Hey, Delia, my car is in the shop right now. My husband can't loan me his car because he needs it for work, and I got to get to work tomorrow. I'm wondering, can you drop me off at work? Can you give me a ride to work tomorrow?
Oh, wow. Elizabeth, I'm really sorry you're going through that right now. And I appreciate you asking, and I'm going to have to say no.
What's going on?
I just want to be like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so glad you're not. I just noticing, right? I like, where are my reactions? I need to like, okay. Yeah,
I mean, I wish I had said I'm sorry, or just, I'm sorry that's happening for you, and no, I'm not available. That would have been a good one.
okay. You can try it. Go ahead.
Okay. Elizabeth, I'm really sorry you have car trouble right now, and I'm not available tomorrow.
Okay, okay, good, good to know. But thanks anyway.
Thanks for asking. Good luck.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. What happens, Velia? What happens?
Just awkwardness,
Ah,
shame. I mean, I do say no in life, and, I clearly have problems also saying no. So it's that wanting to over explain, wanting to rescue, wanting to empathize, wanting to fix it for
mm,
them.
mhm,
And then the like, it's like a gulp, it's like a gripping, it's like just fear.
mhm,
What's going to happen if I say no?
mm.
And if it's a no without much explaining. I mean, I did a
Right.
little bit of the I'm sorry that's happening for you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's challenging.
Yes. Yes. So good to notice. So good to notice.
I really understand. I hear her because I actually used a situation from life that happened to me a fair amount. Um, and that saying no, it just feels like it has consequences, especially if it's someone you work with, someone you want to have a relationship with. To not give any explanation just feels like it's a cutoff, or to, yeah, to
Well,
not go in there. That's that fear.
that is that fear. So good to notice that that is the fear. And it's a
Hmm.
trying to like manage their feelings, right?
Hmm.
Now, none of this means that you may not give an explanation. But there is a way to really start noticing if you're feeling like you have to explain something or justify in order to be able to say no. Who was it said no is a complete sentence, right? And so to notice the discomfort that happens. And this is why the nervous system first, right? Nervous system first for all of this. Like when we're regulated, when we have a sense of safety, if our relationships are more and more authentic, this person, if it's someone that asks other things, may get yeses from you often. Not necessarily, but the more that your yeses and your nos can come from this place of, strength and integrity, then it's not just self-trust we're developing, it's also trust in the relationship, you know?
Hmm.
I would guess that tone has something to do with how it's received. I mean, Velia was really very soft and kind
Mm-hmm.
in her response. If she had been a little bit curt, or just flat, perhaps, and voice a little flat, I don't know, I would have read it with great sensitivity and
Okay.
interpreted it.
Okay. So this is all touching on the receiving end of boundaries as well.
Mhm.
We aren't in this 3-class workshop going to be spending a lot of time other than mentioning it right now, like to be able to receive a no as well. Like, oh, she was curt. It means she doesn't like me. Is that true? Could there be like other reasons for why Velia was curt or why I read it that way, right? So to disentangle where we are imagining what other people are feeling and reading into it. So it's not like a one size fits all and you always have to do it this way, but just to start getting more comfortable with it. Yeah, Susan.
I thought of one.
Okay, let's
And
go.
as we're talking, and I'm realizing I probably feel as anxious about asking as I do about saying no. So it's just interesting, illuminating. So I'm not sure who to ask this to, maybe Elizabeth. Um, so gosh, I've got some stuff that's really intense going on right now, and I'm just like perseverating about it. And I'm wondering if we could just like talk and process it.
Okay. I I thank you for asking, and I didn't realize you were going through so much, Susan. I'm really sorry to hear that. That doesn't sound easy. I'm not available, so I'm sorry I can't be there for you at this time.
Okay.
I feel like I want to say more.
Yeah, good
I
job. Good job,
understand.
Elizabeth.
It was hard to stop at that
Yeah.
point.
Good job.
I wanted to say maybe another time, but I didn't
Well,
want to say it. But I felt
oh,
like I should.
good to notice. Good catch. You didn't want to say it. You felt like you should. Good catch. Like we talk about like when it's like a have to or I should, that right
Mhm.
there is a red flag for not feeling
Yeah.
safe and not feeling like it's coming from a place of, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and we can also, you don't have to think very long, or I don't have to think very long about what happens when we are in this question. What a great question. When someone doesn't ask it and they're assuming and they start processing something with us and we don't have the bandwidth for it. And we feel bad and we keep nodding our head and pretending, but meanwhile we're thinking about, oh my gosh, I really need to whatever it is. So we're not actually there and we're afraid to say, you know, this isn't actually a good time. I can't listen to you fully right now. And if you mean it, I'd love to come back to this. Or I don't have the bandwidth for this right now. I'm going to need to go. Or excuse me while I need to, if you're at an event, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to find a restroom, whatever it is. Mm, what is it?
It would be hard to say that. I'm just thinking at a party, all the all the um awareness. People want to get away from people at parties, or people want to talk to specific people at parties. And if you say something like that, how is it going to be interpreted? Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, yes. So the worry, how is it going to be interpreted?
Yeah.
Like getting into like imagining, right?
Mhm.
And also and worrying
Mhm.
about like managing how the other person is feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what if leaving when you're not really interested in the conversation is giving that person a chance to find someone who's like totally vibes with them much more
Mhm.
quickly?
Yeah. I hear that. But okay, do you hear that one? A lot of people like to socially connect over sharing their troubles, and it's a style of communication. It's a style of relating. And if you don't want to be a part of that, that's a big boundary to set, because
And
A lot of
let me,
people complain to each other about the weather, about their boss, about
mm.
something, anything, a lot of things.
So so what happens in your body, inside of you, when someone just is going on about, in your words, complaining about their boss, and
Mhm.
you're no longer like, at sometimes we may be right there. We may be like, like watching a
Right.
show on TV, right? Like, oh God, I get it, I get it. And we're right there. And what happens though when you're getting a sense from your body, I don't want to be right here, and you stay? What happens?
Well, in the moment, I can feel really, there's something really jumpy going on inside of me.
Hmm.
How can I close this down? Later, I would just get really irritated with myself.
Ah, yeah,
But I would feel jumpy in the moment.
yeah. Good to notice. Like you want to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Good to notice.
Want to run. I mean, sometimes, I mean, that's a strong one. I think getting jumpy is kind of a warm up to get me out of here.
Yeah. So we are noticing. I mean, I just, as you're saying this, who can't relate to being like, accosted and
Mhm.
like held hostage in a conversation where you want to be somewhere else, right? Like it's the stuff of Saturday Night Live. It's like, I mean, the people, it's like the stuff of skits and like so relatable. And to
Mhm.
start noticing, where am I taking responsibility for the well-being, for the emotional well-being, for the mental well-being of everybody? Like at
Mhm.
what expense to myself? No wonder I don't want to go to parties, right? Or whatever it is. So we are just practicing. I mean, for a moment, for a moment, without figuring out how this could happen, or even like no pressure to get to this place. But I'm going to invite you for just a moment to let your body show you what it would be like to always feel like a yes or a no had equal worth and were as easy to say as the other, one as the other. Like, what would that be like?
I immediately got this image of just floating on the water, not sinking, not having to push myself up, just pleasant floating on the water.
Floating on the water. Oh, it's being held by, being held.
Yeah, and that my body is relaxed enough that it allows the water to hold me.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. I gotta feel for that myself when you said it. Yeah. Hmm.
There's definitely an ease when I sense into that, and just a safety. Just feels safe
Hmm.
when yes and no are equal. On the
Hmm.
giving end, the receiving end feels very different, and maybe we're not including that here yet. Susan did bring that in, and that was very resonant for me, that when I'm asking for help in some way, yes and no are not always equal, even though I want them to be.
Hmm.
Like, of course, I only want people to help and say yes when it's a yes, or whatever it is, if it's not help, if it's something else. And yet, there's still the disappointment, or there's the anger. Oh, inside, I was there for you. Why can't you be there for me in my time of need? This is going on in my head. Rarely is it spoken.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So good to notice that.
and then being on the giving side of the yes or no, all of those things are still going through my head.
Yeah. So what does it feel like to have this like, it's not that we're trying to have a tally going, but because it's such a fraught thing for us to ask for help or for us to hear no or for us to say no, then it's same, right? It's the other side of the same exact thing. And the more we get comfortable and practice in this, start with in the small places where the stakes are low. The more we get comfortable and practice authentic no's and yeses, that'll come back to us in the receiving as well. Because, am I okay when someone said no? Actually, yes, I'm okay. Was I okay after that boundary? Like, actually, it was really hard in the moment, but in the long term, much better to not have that person in my life, you know? So as they become more same for us, the receiving of yes or no will also become more same.
So I was just going to say that I feel freedom and just at ease to be fully myself when they're equal.
Yeah. At ease to be fully yourself. Oh my God, that sounds so delicious. Like just getting to be yourself. And like what a gift for the people that love you too, right? Getting to be fully,
Yeah,
that they get you being fully yourself.
yeah. And I definitely feel that way with some people, and I don't feel that way in some situations. So it's good to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in the what in time we have left, I do want to get to, if you have the workbook there or just later, we have a when you wobble page, the very last page of the workbook. When you wobble. So when you receive a no that feels hard, when it's hard for you to say no, I'm going to share this for just a quick second so that you can see it too, in case you're okay. Uh, Pausing. All of us at some point tonight said that. Pausing. Whoops. Oh boy. Close your eyes if it makes you dizzy. Sorry about that. Breathing, right? That slow exhale. In that recent example of like a boundary that kind of brought back stuff from the past for me and that felt clear but also hard. There was like going for a walk for me, just going outside, fresh air, right? A chance to like feel like a part of nature. Hand on your heart, whispering, I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you for doing that hard thing. Yeah. So, some co regulating, reaching out to someone who would understand. Maybe it's someone who like has no idea. Maybe it's a good boundary. Maybe you need to have a boundary about who you reach out to about it. Maybe it would be someone who doesn't know, what you're, the people specifically. Maybe it's someone that you trust, even if they do know the people. Co-regulating. And then reflecting, what feels hard about this? What was hardest? And what feels good about it? What feels like relief to actually excuse myself from a conversation that I'm not enjoying? What feels like relief? Are there other things that you would add to that? For if you were making a plan for yourself, what would be what you want to hear? What would be just something that you need after making a little boundary, making a little no, saying a little no? Maybe a reminder that it's so easy to automatically think that how they're feeling is my fault.
Mhm.
I get that. I get that. And I also see that they're their own person. It's not my fault. I've done this as kindly as I know how, as clearly as I know how. Maybe it was clumsy. Maybe you're practicing. Like, of course it wasn't graceful. You're just learning how to do this. What would be something that you want to hear, that you need after setting a boundary, after receiving a no for some of us?
This isn't exactly in line with a hearing something. It's more in line with like a movement. Um, which is, I might just need to like shake or, pat myself or say like express just in gibberish to discharge some of that fear energy and reset a sense of my own self and boundary.
So good. So good. Let's put that on the list. Yes, shaking and like expressing something and nonverbal, like just, yeah, and just expressing energy. Yeah, exactly. Making faces. Yeah. What what facial expression expresses what it feels like?
Vocalizing what
Voc
it feel like. No words necessarily, but just vocalizing.
Yes. Yes. So it's not all trapped in your body.
Right, right.
For me, there's also something about soothing those young parts in addition to what you've already shared, Heidi, which has been so helpful. There's an element of, and you're innocent. Like, I don't know exactly how to do that in a nervous system way, but, it's safe to have a boundary.
Yeah. I
And,
love I see your hand.
it's good to be you.
Yes. Yes. It's safe to say no. I know you're not used to it. Like, yeah, the young part, if we're aware of a young part of us, I've got you. I've got you, whether you say yes or no. And I'm so proud of you for saying no to something you didn't want. Yeah, I'm right here. That's what I want to hear always. I'm right here. You're going to be okay.
And on the other side of that, it's when I'm receiving the no, I could even say to the person, thank you for telling me the truth. And it's hard for me to hear.
Um,
And I'm noticing some feelings about it. And I'm really glad you felt safe enough in our relationship to be honest.
So
It
good.
means a lot to me.
So good. I feel that as you're saying that, Velia. I really feel that. So good. Yeah. Well, I am just so glad that you all were willing to play with me with the nose. It's definitely a journey, and just every little step we take in this noticing what happens for us and what's true, and that combined with friendliness and a willingness to come back to things when they don't sit right with us, and yeah, just such a sense of possibility for all of us with this. And I want to check in with you just for something that you would like to remember, like just from either tonight or from from all three classes, just something that you would like to put in your pocket to find later, or to find in the middle of that conversation you're having, or yeah, something about safety, something about that inner compass, something about boundaries and saying no, or saying what you want.
I had a number of these features that are staying with me. One that jumps out as you were making that list was the inner compass, trusting my inner compass, that there is a sure direction that I can trust for my own safety, for my own guidance in life. I love that concept of inner compass.
Yeah, yeah. And even when we don't have the whole thing figured out, we might
Yep,
just have that next little baby step,
yep,
right?
baby steps.
Love it. Love it. So glad. Thank you, Elizabeth.
I think for me, it's the pausing and doing the check-ins around, all of the different things like the body, the values, the capacity,
Yeah.
reciprocity, clarity, obligation. I'm just looking at the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Susan. Hmm.
For me, it's also pausing today, just remembering, oh, yeah, I can pause. I don't have to answer right away. And can say, oh, I need a minute. Or if it's on email, I don't have to answer right away. I can take as long as I want, or text or phone call. Like, what's the rush? And that help is available. You know, I can reach out to people for help if I need it.
I'm feeling safe. Where's the help? Where's the help? Always first. Great. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad to have had this time with you in these classes. And yeah, let me know if something stays with you, if you have any questions afterwards. And yeah, I can't wait to hear how it goes. If you feel like sharing it, I'm also going to be sending you just a little like feedback form. Since this is the first time that I did this workshop, I would especially love like what worked for you, what was unclear, yeah, just anything like that. Um, and I hope to see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're so
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye-bye.